Before we get started with the Sales Integrity Podcast, if you haven't already signed up for our free video email course titled 7 Steps to Master the Game of Complex Technical Selling, then you'll want to do so right away. If you're listening on your phone, then simply text the word SI course to the number 44222 or visit mastercomplexsales.com. Again, text the word SI as in sales integrity, so SI course, which is all one word with no spacing at all, to the number 44222 or visit mastercomplexsales.com. Now let's get started with the podcast. Hello, sales achievers. Welcome to the Sales Integrity Podcast. I'm Sean Pickett, founder and CEO of Sales Integrity, a sales coaching services provider, and also the founder of My Coach Site, a coaching enablement software provider. This podcast is all about helping sales professionals, leaders, and organizations with a complex technical B2B sale to increase sales and earn more money, period. Wednesdays are a very special day on the Sales Integrity Podcast because our theme for the day is Wisdom Wednesday. Each Wednesday, I will interview a guest, someone who is a leader in the selling profession who can share their wisdom with all of us through their experience. Some of the guests will be sales-related authors, speakers, trainers, and coaches who serve the sales profession as thought leaders. And some of the guests will be VPs of sales or even sales professionals who are willing to share their sales wisdom with their peers and contemporaries in the marketplace. So get ready to glean some value from today's Wisdom Wednesday interview because it's time to get today's episode rockin' and rollin'. Now let's chat with today's guest, Jeff Bishop. Jeff, are you ready to share some wisdom with Sales Integrity Nation today?
I sure am, Sean. Thank you.
Great, Jeff. Let's get started. Jeff, nobody can introduce you better than you. So given that, say hello to our audience, take a moment to tell us a little bit about yourself, and let us know how you best serve the sales profession as a leader in your current role.
Well, thank you, Sean. Well, hey, thanks for having me on your podcast today. And good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be as a listener. And yeah, let me just, I've really had a three-phase career, if you will. I spent, when I first got out of college, I spent almost 15 years at IBM in various sales management, sales training, some strategic planning jobs there. I had a great experience there, a great company. And then for almost the next 15 years as well, I ran a smaller technology firm, about a $12 million business with about 35 employees. And then for almost the last 15 years, I've been entirely on my own with my own company, own business, where I do sales consulting, sales coaching, and some sales training along the way. So I have been very blessed and very fortunate in my career, and I've really enjoyed working with people and helping them along in their life, their career, and in their sales career, certainly.
Great. Well, full disclosure for our audience, Jeff and I know each other really well because Jeff is a Sales Integrity certified sales coach. So I've had the pleasure to work with Jeff and have him be a coach alongside of me on various Sales Integrity coaching engagements. So I was real excited to get Jeff on the show. He runs his own business, as all Sales Integrity certified sales coaches do. He brings a really interesting perspective on creativity and just new innovative methods into his sales coaching efforts and helping his clients out. So Jeff, real excited to have you on the show today. Thank you for being here. And I really look forward to asking you some questions and having you share your sales wisdom with our Sales Integrity listeners here today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, great. So first question, Jeff. Right out of the gates here, as you know, my company's name is Sales Integrity. Name of the podcast is Sales Integrity. So I like to ask this question of all our listeners or all of our guests here on the show. How do you define sales integrity, or what it means for a sales professional to demonstrate integrity while selling?
That's a great question, Sean. And, in a world today that's a little bit sometimes confusing, sometimes there's a sense of lack of trust. Integrity is one of the greatest attributes that we can bring to the table. And, just in very simple terms, as salespeople, we're engaging and listening to people. To me, integrity comes down to really say what you'll do, and then do what you say you'll do.
Yep, that's great. That is great. Now, at Sales Integrity, as you know, being a Sales Integrity certified sales coach, we have a mantra. That mantra is make your sales pop to achieve your goals. And POP is naturally an acronym that stands for preparation, organization, and productivity. And these are the key habits of all top sales achievers we've been fortunate enough to coach. Naturally, one thing leads to another. If you're prepared, you tend to be organized. You're organized, you tend to be productive. And if you're productive in sales, you tend to achieve your sales and income goals. So given that, Jeff, my next three questions will address these three core competencies to get your take on each one. You ready?
Absolutely.
Great. Question one, how can sales professionals improve the way they prepare for any step in the sales process?
Great question. And I'm going to steal a quote and really kind of reverse a little bit from Tom Peters. He had a great book back in the 80s, showing our age now here, In Search of Excellence. And one of the pieces that they looked at with companies, and this absolutely applies to sales executives, is the concept of ready, fire, aim. And my advice and counsel, and I see this all the time in working with sales executives, is the concept of let's take three steps. Let's be ready. Let's now aim and then fire. Not ready, fire, aim. Let's ready, aim, and fire. Let's determine who our targets are and whom we want to go after in our sales approach.
That's great. So that was purpose-driven the way you first said it, which was ready. You're saying that he says ready, fire, aim is how most people take it on, but you're saying take 2 steps back, 3 steps back, and ready, aim, then fire. Is that correct?
Right on. That's well stated. Right on.
Awesome. Just wanted to clarify for our listeners out there.
Yep.
All right. Question number 2. What is the best tip, technique, or tool to help sales professionals get more organized?
Well, for most of us in today's world, right, it's right in the palm of our hand. It's our mobile device of some kind. And what I really mean by that is it's a calendar that's on there. And what are the activities that are in place for you each day? And if you take a look at your calendar, we're big believers at Sales Integrity of, in essence, no white space in your calendar. What I mean by that, there should be some type of color-coded activity that's in place every day to ensure that you're engaging in the proper activities to get to where you need to reach your goal in sales. I know, Sean, I know you can elaborate on this because I've actually picked this quote up for you, which I love. I believe you said if it's not in the calendar, then it's not meaningful and not valuable to you.
That's right. If it occupies your space, time, and attention, and it's a meaningful activity, it should be on your calendar. If it's not on your calendar, what gets scheduled gets done, right?
There you go.
So if it's not on your calendar, then it's probably out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. Absolutely.
All right. Well, Jeff, question number 3 along the lines of make your sales pop. How can a sales professional improve productivity to get more done in less time?
Another great question. Well, first off, you have to understand what your productivity is. And certainly within sales, you can measure your activities, and we can get a little more detail on that either later in the podcast or some other point in time. But I'm also going to steal a quote from Peter Drucker that's just held true for myself, for my clients, and certainly many, many successful businesses over time, which is you can't manage what you don't measure. So highly recommend that you actually, back to the calendar of your activities, actually measure your activities during the week. How many calls am I making? How many emails am I sending? What am I doing with my networking, et cetera? And then as the week unfolds, and certainly as the week ends, take a look and assess how well did I do against my metrics that I've put in place for my sales activities that I've placed towards my goal on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and then certainly begin to put that into monthly and quarterly and annually. But it's very important to understand exactly what your activities are so you can understand what your productivity looks like.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Now, for our listeners out there, I had mentioned that I work with Jeff quite a bit. He's a Sales Integrity Certified Sales Coach. We've received a lot of positive feedback from our customers when Jeff has been a coach on engagement, specifically from those that are his specific coachees or coaching clients, the individuals he works with on a one-on-one coaching basis. And as I mentioned at the outset, Jeff, you're really known for your new and creative ways of selling and providing those techniques to your clients, right? So given that, what is one new or creative method or way to sell or new technique that you can share with our sales achievers out there that they can say, wow, okay, I haven't really heard that before. I want to, that changes the way I think or gets me to look at the same topic a different way so that I'll improve my sales game. Do you have something like that you could share with our audience here today?
Absolutely, sure. This technique is it's incredibly powerful. It's incredibly well received, and really light bulbs go off for sales executives when this is shared with them. And it's something that kind of at a subconscious level we know, but when you put the tool in place and lay it out before them, it really makes some sense and really becomes tangible for them. It's just the power of threes. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is, in essence, speaking in threes. So, for example, here's what my value statement is. I love to see the light bulb go off for sales executives when they learn new and creative ways to sell. The way that I do that is, number one, through common sense consulting, number two, through collaborative coaching, and number three, through enlightening education. So what that does is it allows the brain thinks in three. So if you look at airlines are 3 digits, airports are in 3 digits. Phone numbers are 3 sets of digits. There were 3 little pigs in the story. What that allows the brain to do is, if I told you I could help you in 55 different ways or 42 different ways, your brain's going to turn off. But if I tell you there's 3 ways I'm going to help you with things, you will then tune in and can narrow the focus. And generally, the old 80-20 rule applies. Generally, any benefit, any value add that we get, generally it comes from 20% of what you're able to do provides 80% of that benefit. So it helps to kind of frame your value presentation, your value pitch, and your communication to your customer going forward.
Yeah, that's great. The power of 3. And the advertising industry really kind of pioneered that, or put it to use, where it's really prevalent there. If you look at, moving forward for our audience, if you're watching commercials, or especially if you're looking at any business advertisements, you'll notice they group everything into 3s. And what Jeff had referred to is, along the lines of the power of 3, the human brain, and studies show this, the human brain can retain 3 new concepts upon first presenting those concepts. But the minute you introduce a 4th, it's highly likely to forget all 4. So think about that as a sales professional. The advice that Jeff is providing is, don't overwhelm your prospective customers, or even your customers if you're selling something new to them. Really group everything, or try your hardest to group what you're going to present, your messaging, into the power of 3, and then you'll reap the rewards and the benefits from that, right?
Absolutely. It works wonders. It's really amazing.
Great. That's a great tip. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
All right, Jeff. Well, let's shift gears and talk social selling, as that seems to be a really, really hot topic these days, right? I'm sure you've heard of this thing called social selling, right?
I believe so.
Well, the use of social technology such as LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and others have really taken the selling scene by storm, Jeff. And given that, wanted to ask you, what is one tip you have for the use of social technologies, specifically as it relates to those that are selling complex, technical, B2B products, services, and solutions?
Well, Sean, yeah, let me give you a very, very basic tip here. It may sound overly simple, but first off, get started, get going, right? I encounter a lot of businesses, a lot of sales executives who they don't know what to do with this. They kind of throw their arms up and say, oh my gosh, this stuff is crazy. I'm not sure how to get going with it. And obviously you reference LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. My advice is, they say, to get started, and I highly recommend, particularly in a B2B complex technical sales environment, is to start with LinkedIn. And really, again, we'll go into a 3-step process. Go into LinkedIn, make sure you've got your profile picture is updated with a professional picture. Make sure, number 2, that your title is appropriate and customer-centric in terms of what is the value that you can bring to them. Certainly, and the next step is obviously what your summary is about, which makes that customer-centric as well. And then begin to get recommendations from your previous clients, customers that you've worked with, because here's what's happening in LinkedIn. Companies are now, and I think, Sean, we've discussed this before, the statistics show that 80 to 90% of all people go to the web, they search on individuals, and they go to LinkedIn to find what the individual is about. So if I'm calling into a customer or reaching out, they want to know who I am before they reach back to me. And LinkedIn is a great way to get your profile out there and to build your credibility immediately.
Yep, that's great advice. You're exactly right. There's lots of studies out there on that, but on average, buyers are about 2/3 of the way through their evaluation process before they raise their hand and reach out to a sales professional. And before they do that, they're going to go check you out online. They're going to do a Google search first, and they'll go to probably LinkedIn and check your profile out and see, is this someone I want to interact with? So I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Clean up your profile first and foremost. Have a picture that makes you look professional. make it easy for them to understand who you are, what you do, and I think you're off to a great start there. So that's great advice. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So, Jeff, if social selling is all the rage these days, then its chief rival that is equally polarizing is the tactic of cold calling. So let me ask you this: where do you believe cold calling fits into the lead generation mix these days, if at all anymore?
Yeah, another great question, Sean, because I get that question a lot, and obviously the world has changed a lot. I mean, back in the day, cold calling was just about the only tool you had in your toolkit in a lot of ways, right? You just get on the phone and start dialing for dollars, as we would say. Now, to me and what I work with my clients is it's just one more tool. It's a much smaller tool that's available in your toolbox to use. And also back to with social media and the availability of information, Google, et cetera, as I say, there's really no such thing as a cold call anymore. It should be a warm call. And what I mean by that is when you're reaching out via cold, quote, the phone, email, whatever it might be, you already have some information. You know about the prospects, the clients, the customers you're reaching out to, and have some information that makes that call go from being straight out ice cold into some warmth there because there's a relationship there. And one of the things we've got at Sales Integrity, to our horn a little bit, and certainly Sean, some of the things he's put together, we've got some outstanding scripts to help both from a phone call standpoint, from a voicemail standpoint, and then certainly from the LinkedIn standpoint. And also, just to elaborate one more minute or so here, Sean, as well, a lot of people ask, well, should I leave a voicemail or not? And my recommendation is absolutely, because that puts your name, you've at least put your name in there. And all studies show that most sales are made between the 5th and the 12th touch/contact that you have with an individual, particularly if you've never met the individual before. And all that part of that study was a Microsoft study that also shows that after the third call, almost 90% of sales executives drop off after that third touch. So the key part is you're continuing to what I call drip market, or keep your name in front of people through these various tools that are available to you, be it the phone, be it email, be it LinkedIn, whatever that may be.
So cold calling's not dead, is what I'm hearing from you, as long as it's well prepared, well researched, so you're calling in not so cold, but a little bit warmed up. You understand kind of the purpose of it, and it's really within the mix of all of your touch points, not just on its own, but it sounds like you're saying in conjunction with an email, conjunction with a LinkedIn in-mail, and just overall part of your drip. I think you called it drip or nurture marketing type.
Yes.
Is that right?
Exactly. Yep. Absolutely.
Great. We could probably spend a whole episode just on whether cold calling is dead or not. I mean, that seems to be a huge question out there, but we won't do that. We'll keep moving forward here, because that's that cold calling to the sales profession is kind of like talking politics these days, right? It's just you never really have a clear winner. There's people on either side, and by God, they're both right.
That's right.
But anyhow, let's as we move forward here. So we are nearing our end of our time here together today, and I really appreciate you jumping on the podcast here and sharing some of your wisdom. But nearing the end of our time means one thing on this show, Jeff, and it's time for the sales cycle. The sales cycle is not only a process that all sales professionals have to manage, Jeff, but it's also the name of our lightning round, where I ask questions in rapid fire format and look for quick answers from our guest. Okay?
All right.
To make it fun, though, Jeff, we do like to make it fun. That's one of the things we want to do here on the show is make it fun. So I'm going to time it. I'm going to see how fast you can get through the sales cycle. We time all of our guests on the sales cycle. So far, since this is a brand new podcast, we've timed one guest. You're the second one. So you have a time to beat that was set by our previous guest, which was Bob Minshall, who's the GM and COO of My Coach Site, the software company. And he set the benchmark with a 4-minute and 43-second sales cycle. So that's the time to beat. Think you can do it?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Okay. I just want you to keep one thing in mind. If I feel your answers are too quick and the audience can't glean some value from it with a takeaway they can apply to their sales game, I might ask you to elaborate a bit more, and that's all part of the process. Okay?
Okay. That's fair.
So we want to balance speed with value. Okay, that sounds like you feel that's fair. Okay, great. So let me get my my stopwatch ready to go so we can time you. Okay, and as of right now, Jeff Bishop, you are on the clock.
Okay.
First question. Name a specific technology or tool you can use for identifying and researching target market prospects.
One I use is called Datanyze, Datanyze, and it's a Google Chrome extension, free download, and has some great information available on companies as you research your targets.
So it just grabs info from companies and kind of provides it right in the browser?
Yes, it has an overall profile. It has news updates about the company. It has connections into their LinkedIn if they're the individual on LinkedIn. It has tweets from the company. It's an aggregator, if you will, of information.
Cool. Datanyze, N-Y-Z-E, right?
Exactly.
We'll have that in our show notes too. Question number 2. What is the best way to initially get the attention of and connect with your target market prospects?
Well, nothing like networking and referrals. It's still a tried and true way, because you're 70 to 80% of the way there if you can get a referral in, or if you got some great network contacts who can refer you into some influencers and places to be. Absolutely number one.
Great. Question number 3. What method do you use to consistently stay top of mind if your prospects aren't ready to buy just yet?
Great question. Kind of drip marketing. You send out some type of monthly news update. I've got an email list, send them tips and techniques. Just keep that in front of them. And a very simple technique for people to use if you don't do anything else is to send them monthly greeting cards of some kind. Whether it's, obviously, we've got Thanksgiving, we've got Christmas, springtime. There's all types of occasions that you can celebrate. Just wish people a happy time of year, a happy day, whatever that might be. Very helpful to keep on it.
Very good. Question number 4. You're midway through the sales cycle. We have 7 questions. So question number 4, what sales process methodology do you use to manage opportunities through the sales cycle?
I've developed one. I've obviously learned some great ones over the years, but I have a very straight, again, a 3-step process called SPA. Number 1 is S. The S stands for suspect. Are they a suspect? Are they even reasonable to pursue? Then I do some analysis and assessment, and then I move them to a prospect. The P is for prospect, and that goes back to narrowing my target market. Who am I looking after? Who do we really want to bring into our business? And then A is for assess, and really begin to assess and do some analysis around those prospects. So we, again, use some tools like Datanyze, LinkedIn, et cetera, to find out more about them, to see how we can connect in and see what value our solutions can bring to the table.
So SPA, suspects, prospects, aspects.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Great. All right, coming down the home stretch here. Question number 5. How do you define the concept of closing a sale?
Well, in its purest form, they cut a check. But let me back up as well. You're always moving them towards the next step. You're always moving them. And there's a study that shows 50% of sales executives walk away or don't ask for that next step. So mine is getting that contract signed, moving that forward all the time, moving towards that end goal.
Great. Question number 6. How do you know when it's time to close a sale for any given deal?
You're always looking for those buying signals. You're always looking for things or comments like, how soon can we get started? Who else has done this? What else do we need to know? Key questions that are leading you towards the ultimate close.
Great. And number 7, last question. What is your best advice for sales achievers to improve their closing ratio?
3 letters. Here we go again with 3s. Number 1 is A. Number 2 is S. Number 3 is K. Ask. Ask for what else is needed. Ask for, have we conveyed our solution properly? Ask for what will happen if they don't buy my solution? What will happen if they don't buy my product or service? Very key question to ask as well.
All right. I just stopped the clock. Congratulations, Jeff. You closed the deal.
Oh,
nice. Now completed the sales cycle. You got the deal closed, nicely done. All right. You want to know what your time was?
Absolutely.
We have a new leader, 4 minutes and 15 seconds.
All right.
Yes. Good job.
Thank you.
You're the time to beat now. All right, Jeff. So let's wrap up the show with your number 1 piece of advice for complex technical B2B sellers and with how people can best connect with you.
Great. Again, 3 words. Number 1, be persistent. Number 2, be insistent. And number 3, most importantly, be consistent. in your approaches.
Persistent, insistent, consistent.
Exactly.
Outstanding. And how can people best connect with you? Where out on the web, social media address, or something along those lines? What's the best way?
Very easy. Email address is jeffrey.bishop@salesintegrity.com. Or you can certainly find me on LinkedIn at Jeffrey G. Bishop as well.
Okay, Jeffrey G. Bishop, if you're searching LinkedIn, and jeffrey.bishop@salesintegrity.com, right?
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for your time today, Jeff, and thank you to all the sales achievers out there who took the time to listen to today's interview. I appreciate it and look forward to everyone applying some of the sales wisdom ideas that Jeff shared today during the interview. Now, let's wrap up today's episode with a few quick reminders. First, we recently launched 2 new B2B tech sales professional groups, one on LinkedIn and one on Facebook. Just search for B2B tech sales professionals on either LinkedIn or Facebook, or both if you want to join both groups and join the conversation with your peers there. Second, if you haven't already subscribed to our free 7-day video email course titled 7 Steps to Master the Game of Complex Technical Selling, then you will definitely want to do so right away. You can do so by visiting mastercomplexsales.com or by texting the word SI course to the number 44222. Again, visit mastercomplexsales.com or text the word SI as in sales integrity. So SI course, all one word with no spacing. If you put a space between SI and course, you'll get an error message back. So make sure it's all one word, SI course, and text that to the number 44222. After subscribing, we will send you your first lesson via email right away, and then 1 lesson a day for the next 7 days. Third, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or SoundCloud. Just search for the Sales Integrity Podcast with Sean Pickett, and it should pop up and allow you to subscribe on one of those 2 channels. After you subscribe, please provide a quick 5-star rating and a 1 to 2 sentence review to help others find the show. We are going to be published on Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and eventually iHeartRadio and other channels. However, we are a brand new podcast. This is week 2 here. So we're not on those channels just yet, but bear with us. We're going to get there soon, and we'll let you know what we do. And finally, please share the podcast with your colleagues and friends who would find it relevant. You can do so by going to salesintegrity.com and click the Sales Integrity Podcast menu link at the top of the page. All of the podcasts are there, and it provides you a way to click a button and share any episode, whether via email to individuals or if you want to blast it out to social media, there's some buttons on there as well if you're so inclined. We would appreciate that. So that will do it for today's episode. Now go out there in the sales world today and help your prospects and customers buy what they want, what they need, and what benefits them. And most importantly, go out there and make it a great day.